Hello and welcome to Miniature Adventures. I'm Big Lee, and this week I want to plead with you. Please don't throw away your rubbish. We're going to do a video about thrifty Wargames terrain. So today I want to talk about something that sits right at the intersection of creativity, thrift, environmental guilt, and that quiet joy of telling yourself this will be useful one day. The topic is how ordinary household rubbish can be turned into terrain and tools for historical wargaming and miniature painting. Not in a desperate Blue Peter with bayonets way, but in a genuinely practical, surprisingly elegant and deeply satisfying way that makes your gaming table better and your bin a little lighter. This isn't about being cheap for the sake of it, it's about seeing potential where others see packaging, and about rediscovering one of the oldest traditions in the hobby, making do, improvising and building worlds from whatever's at hand. But first I have a confession to make. My wife is always recycling household rubbish and it often drives me insane. Is that empty can or bottle behind being saved for something else, or did it just not make the extra 2 foot to the bin? And while I'm standing there muttering under my breath like Muttley in Wacky Races, I have to remind myself that I do exactly the same thing, except of course my rubbish is saved for terrain building and as impromptu painting equipment. I've collected lots of building material over the holiday period and beyond. So today I thought I would discuss some of the ways in which one person's rubbish can become a wargamer's terrain and more. Now, if you've been in the hobby for any length of time, you already know this instinct exists. You pick up a yoghurt pot and think, that's a grain silo. You look at a toilet roll tube and think, that's a bunker core. And you don't choose this life, the life chooses you. Historical wargaming especially has always had a strong undercurrent of DIY spirit. Long before laser cut MDF kits and 3D printers, people were carving hills from insulation foam, scratch building houses from cereal boxes and using sand stolen from beaches in quiet defiance of local bylaws. Household rubbish isn't a compromise, it's a continuation of that tradition. So let's start with the obvious hero of the recycling bin, cardboard. Cardboard is the gateway drug of scratch-built terrain. Cereal boxes, shipping cartons, packaging sleeves, pizza boxes, all of it a structural potential. Thin card is perfect for walls, floors, roof tiles and internal bracing. Corrugated card gives you instant texture for ruined masonry, concrete layers and bombed out buildings. Stack it, tear it, dent it and suddenly you have the sort of battle damage that no pristine kit ever quite captures. Cardboard buildings also have a forgiving quality. If you mess up a cut or glue something crooked, congratulations, you've just added character. War is never tidy. Toilet roll tubes deserve special recognition here because they're one of those objects that look useless until you realise how often history involves cylindrical things. Chimneys, industrial pipes, water towers, bunker embrasures, silos, observation posts, even medieval towers in smaller scales. Cut them down, reinforce them, skim them with card or filler and they stop looking like bathroom refuse very quickly. Paper towel tubes are the same idea, just beefier, which makes them ideal for larger industrial terrain or fortifications. Plastic food containers are another quiet trump. Yoghurt pots, margarine tubs, takeaway boxes, ice cream containers, all of them are basically pre-moulded terrain pieces waiting for a coat of paint and a sense of purpose. Turn one upside down and you've got a cooling tower or a storage tank. Stack a few and you've got industrial infrastructure. Add card details and suddenly it's a believable piece of battlefield geography. Clear plastic lids make excellent greenhouse roofs, skylights or even observation domes if you're drifting into pulp or early sci-fi territory. Historical gaming isn't allergic to imagination, it just prefers it to wear period appropriate trousers. Bottle tops and jar lids are one of those things that multiply mysteriously in drawers and terrain builders know why. They're perfect for small repeatable details. Manhole covers, vents, hatches, objective markers, minefields, tank traps, turret bases, artillery platforms, the list goes on. Metal jar lids are especially useful because their weight gives stability. Nobody enjoys terrain that skates across the table every time someone breathes too hard. Bit of textured paste and paint and nobody will ever guess that your carefully placed urban detail once sealed a jar of pasta sauce. Plastic bottles themselves are surprisingly versatile once you get over the mental hurdle of cutting them up. The bases can become towers or silos, the next become chimneys or exhaust stacks. The rigid mid-sections are ideal for post-war industrial terrain or refineries. Cut into sections and layered, they add visual complexity that looks far more deliberate than it really is. There's something deeply pleasing about turning a fizzy drinks bottle into a grimy industrial structure from 1944 and knowing it will never again contain anything sugary. Now, polystyrene terrain is maybe a bit more controversial, mostly because it's annoying to work with if you don't treat it properly. That said, it's hard to beat for quick rocky terrain, bunker walls, trench systems or rough stonework. Carve it, snap it, dent it, and it takes on an organic, irregular look that's perfect for natural features or heavily damaged fortifications. The key, as many hobbyists have learned the hard way, is sealing it before painting, otherwise certain sprays will eat it alive, which is entertaining exactly once. Egg cartons, particularly the paper kind, are an underrated treasure. Turned upside down, they already look like uneven ground. Cut them up and they become craters, rocky outcrops, alien terrain or rough stone walls. Their natural irregularity does a lot of the work for you. Once painted and dry brushed, they're almost unrecognisable. There's also something quietly poetic about turning an object designed to protect fragile things into a battlefield scarred by conflict. Wooden household items are another rich vein of possibility. Coffee stirrers, lolly sticks, wooden cutlery or even old chopsticks can be transformed into fences, palisades, trench revetments, railway sleepers, jetties, bridges and walkways. Wood is a scale appropriate grain that plastic often struggles to replicate, and with a bit of staining or weathering it looks convincingly aged. Rough them up with a knife, snap a few, misaligned others, and suddenly you have structures that look like they were built under pressure, not assembled at the kitchen table. And of course there's the wonderfully nerdy world of broken electronics. Old keyboards, routers, phones and cables are full of shapes that look technical even when nobody knows exactly what they do. Circuit boards make excellent control panels, power generators and machinery bases. Cables become pipes, hoses or conduits. Buttons and ports turn into dials and access panels. For historical gamers that brush up against late Cold War or periods, the sort of detail adds a convincing sense of complexity. It says this place does things, even if nobody at the table can explain what those things are. Metal household waste also has its uses. Tin cans can be cut down into fuel tanks, water towers or storage silos. Aluminium foil, when crumpled and flattened, becomes corrugated metal roofing. Scrap piles, tarps or even sandbag skins. If you're feeling adventurous, it takes paint surprisingly well once primed and adds a different texture to the table, which helps break up visual monotony. Now, as someone with a young grandson, I will say that broken toys deserve a second life. Wheels, tracks, weapons, odd shapes become battlefield debris, wrecked vehicles or improvised defences. A toy that lost a wheel years ago can provide hardcover for an infantry squad today. There's something oddly fitting about that. War is after all the ultimate recycler of human effort. Now packaging inserts and blister trays are another sleeper hit. These moulded plastic cavities are often just the right size for windows, vents, trench plates or sci-fi flooring. Manufacturers spend a lot of money designing packaging that holds things securely, and terrain builders quietly benefit from that engineering. Trim, texture, paint, and suddenly you've got modular details that would cost real money if they came in a labelled hobby pack. All of this rubbish-based terrain building isn't just about scenery. It bleeds naturally into tools and hobby aids as well. Old jars become paint water pots or storage containers. Bottle caps become paint palettes or glue holders. Sponges from packaging are perfect for weathering and stippling. Offcuts of card become mixed surfaces for filler or texture paste. The same mindset applies. Look at an object, ask what problem it could solve, and then let yourself experiment. There's also a deeper benefit here that goes beyond saving money or recycling waste. Working with household rubbish encourages a different kind of creativity. You're not following instructions, you're not assembling something that already exists in finished form. You're making decisions, solving problems and adapting as you go. That process feeds back into painting and gaming. You start to see terrain not as a product but as a tool for storytelling. A slightly crooked wall suggests hurried construction. A mismatch building implies a town that grew over time. A battlefield full of improvised defences feels lived in and believable. And as a historical wargamer, I think this is especially valuable. History is messy. It's full of expedient solutions, reused materials and structures that were never meant to be beautiful. Terrain built from household rubbish naturally captures that aesthetic. It looks practical, worn and human. It looks like something people actually thought over and not something designed to look good on a shelf. And there's also a social aspect to this that shouldn't be underestimated. Talking about scratch-built terrain invites conversation. People who ask how you made things, they share their own ideas, they start looking at their own bins differently. Suddenly the hobby feels less like consumption and more like participation. That's healthy, especially in a world where it's very easy to feel like you need to buy your way into legitimacy. Now, of course, none of this is an argument against commercial terrain or modern tools. These things are fantastic, and they've lowered barriers and raised standards across the hobby. But household rubbish offers a parallel path, one that's accessible, forgiving and easily flexible. It reminds us that at the heart of the hobby isn't just stuff, it's imagination applied to stuff. So next time you're about to throw something away, pause for a moment, turn it over in your hands, ask what it could be with a bit of cutting, glue and paint. Ask what story it might tell on the table. That moment of curiosity is where terrain building begins, and it's one of the most quietly joyful parts of the hobby. If you've enjoyed this ramble through the recycling bin of destiny, get involved. Share your own rubbish to terrain ideas in the comments. Tell us about the strangest things you've ever turned into scenery, and let's keep the conversation going. Like the video, subscribe if you haven't already, and help spread the word that great Wargames tables don't start in shops. They start in kitchens, garages and that suspicious box you keep under the desk just in case. So that's it for this week. As always, please join the conversation in the comments below. And if you enjoyed the video, please like, subscribe and share. And maybe consider becoming a member like these absolute heroes over here. And of course, if you want to keep up to date with weekly content from the channel, please tap the bell notification icon. So until next week, stay safe, keep gaming and of course, keep rolling high.